You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome to The Money Hour on 570 KVI, the Sunday, January 12th show. I'm your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. Thank you for taking time to talk money. I'm here every Sunday at 11 a.m. right here on 570 KVI. I'm dedicated to my listeners, providing you with tools needed to make informed decisions on everything that affects your money. And my lineup today for a show, we've got a lot of money talk going on. Janice Hammond, founder and owner of Sunrise Financial Services, regular contributor to the home, works with a lot of our listeners in helping them put a strong financial plan together. What is your New Year's resolution for 2014? Is it to be financially fit? If not, I think it's something really smart to talk about. We all talk about losing weight and trying to eat better, and some of you maybe quit smoking, but financially having a plan together for your finances is what we're going to discuss with Janice in her segment today. Also in studio, another regular contributor, Greg Nunn Principal at Gregory S Nunn Company, and he's my personal CPA as well. So very excited to have him back. Everything taxes today is what we're going to talk with Greg. There's so much you need to know, and not knowing how to prepare and what to look for and what to do when it comes to your taxes not only can affect you, but it actually can affect your family and your finances as well. So we're going to talk to Greg about that. And last in studio, Scott Monroe with Windermere Real Estate, Wall Street office in Seattle. Real estate's a hot topic today, and there's a lot of advice on how to navigate through this environment, but the wrong advice can be the biggest financial mistake that you can make. So today's Todd's going to break it down for us. Great information and great guests in studio. For more information, please take down my show number, 1-888-987-0570. Again, that's 1-888-987-0570. So if you want to talk with any of our guests in studio today, you definitely want to hold on to that number, or you can reach me online at themoneyhour.com. And let's go right into some money chat. So I thought I'd give you some tips in 2014 if you're thinking about buying a car. No, I don't do car loans. Those of you that know me know that I do mortgage loans. But there was some great information I read in an article from ABC News and wanted to share it with all of my listeners. So if you're thinking about purchasing a car in 2014, start planning and budgeting right now. And I have the same conversation with my mortgage clients as well. It does matter what the bank is going to be willing to lend you when it comes to purchasing your car, or a mortgage for that matter. But as important, it's important to know what your own objective is in a payment, because it's going to be a waste of your time to go out there and take a look at cars if you don't know exactly what you're going to be in a position to afford. So you want to analyze and take a look at that first. To avoid making a bad decision, you want to have some tips to kind of follow, and so that's what I wanted to share with you today. Decide if you're purchasing a new car or a new or a used car. There are a lot of pros and cons to both. Used cars have been in high demand for several years now, making prices higher overall, while there's a wider array than ever in the inexpensive new cars. Now, buying used means that you can get a more expensive car, care for the money. You can get a more expensive car for the money that you're going to spend, but the trade-offs is not knowing the history of the car, shorter warranty, and a lot of times you're going to see higher interest rates on those vehicles as well. Now, assess the total cost to own. An independent auto information website, a really good one to use, is Edmunds.com, and they can help you estimate all the cost of ownership and that data, because it's important that when we go back to your objective and what you want in an actual payment, you want to be looking at allocating 20% of the take-home income that you have at the maximum for all cars in your family. So if you have your kids that are going to be driving, you and your spouse are driving, so you've got 3 cars in your household, you should never be spending or budgeting more than 20% of your take home. Now that's 20%, not just for the car payment, but all the expenses. So we're talking about car insurance, gasoline. So that's a good gauge to kind of to look at. So understanding what those costs are going to be are really important. Now, get the best interest rate. You may be drawn to a certain car or brand because of an ad for low interest rates. You see a lot of zero interest rate ads. The reality of it is statistics show that 10% are going to actually qualify. 10% buyers are going to qualify for those low interest rates that the auto makers are offering. So even then, you may be in a better financial situation by taking the cash rebate that they offer instead of getting your financing elsewhere. So don't visit a dealership until you've researched the best interest rate that you can get in other areas for financing. So you're coming in prepared and have that information if you decide to go ahead and move forward and purchase that car. Now, know the invoice price. Your care research should have included in the invoice price for new cars and wholesale prices for used cars, as well as your manufactured suggested retail price for new cars or the dealer's asking price for used cars. It's not 100% accurate, but it's a good indicator of what the dealer paid for the car, and is the best place for you to start in the negotiation process. Now, research all discounts. You will see automakers giving cash back deals in advertisements, and these incentives can be significant. In addition, many automakers offer discounts based on the person that's buying the car. As an example would be maybe like students, VA, veterans. Sometimes if you belong to certain credit unions, there's special offers that are available for those as well. So you want to look into those. And then manufacturers sometimes offer dealers $1,000, sometimes even more, as an incentive to sell one of the make of the cars. So if there's a particular vehicle that has a lot of models and it's not as much in demand, then they're offering these incentives. So it's really important for you to know what those are, because that's actually something that you can use in the negotiating process, and barring maybe that they can provide some of that rebate back into a lower price that you would ultimately pay for the car. So use a vehicle information source like Kelley Blue Book or EdmundsAgain.com is a really good one to see what those incentives are that are being offered to the dealer, and request the dealer again to share that in the price. Call the dealer and ask to talk with a sales representative. See what they can offer you. So get some information over the phone before stepping into the dealership, because I don't know how many of you listening today that actually have been in to buy a car recently. It's been a little while for me. My last one that I bought was new off the lot in 2007. But they can be kind of hardcore salespeople. Get your information, talk with a salesperson over the phone at home first, and then be prepared. And maybe you're getting some of that negotiating taken care of before you actually walk onto the lot. Be a savvy negotiator. Not a really good quality for myself. I hate doing it, but the reality of it is, especially in the car business, it's something that you need to do. And ultimately, we want to get the best deal that we can, so we can provide more. And when we're going to talk with Janice and about financial planning, everything extra that you have on a monthly basis that you can store away for your family's future is going to be really important. So call and ask to make an appointment for a test drive with the Internet or Fleet Manager. This way, if you decide that you're ready to buy, you'll be working with someone who is less likely to strong-arm you into a deal, and they're more of the decision maker as well, so you're not going back and forth. I don't know how many times you've had a car sales guy that's out on the lot and then goes, you know what, I got to go talk to my manager, and going back and forth. So talk with the person that can actually make those decisions, and again, is going to be likely to be less of strong-armed in the negotiating process. Don't discuss trading in your car as part of the deal. Keep them totally separate. It's easier to get the best price for each if you negotiate the sales price on your new car first, and then talk about the trade-in value that you might be receiving on your existing car. Make sure you do your research, obviously, on the car that you're looking at trading in to see what the value is, so that you are making sure you're getting a fair market price for that trade-in. Be prepared to say no to all extras that you offer. That's really hard. I get in there and I want all the shiny stuff. It doesn't mean that you're not going to do it, but wait, leave the lot, get your car, then go back and do the research and negotiate later at a later term, and you'll probably get better deals. Coming up next in the Money Hour, your financial well-being is important, not just for you, but your entire family. Why wait to start planning for the future? The time is right now. Take action. Get your financial plan together. Janice Hammond, founder and owner of Sunrise Financial Services, right here on 570 KVI after this short break.
When it comes to your retirement, don't compromise. Call Sunrise. Talk to a professional. Call Janice Hammond at 206-420-8520 or visit Sunrise online at sunrisefinancialservices.net. Janice conducts complimentary dinner workshops monthly. You can find out about the next event or her firm's services by going to sunrisefinancialservices.net, by calling her office at 206-420-8520 or following Sunrise Financial Services on Facebook. The number one mistake made when planning for retirement is to do nothing. Don't procrastinate. If you are within 10 to 15 years of retirement and don't have a plan for retirement income streams, call for your complimentary consultation today. 206-420-8520 for Sunrise Financial Services.
Are you behind on your mortgage payments and unsure about the road ahead? Magnum Law Group helps families just like yours navigate through the foreclosure avoidance process. Are you underwater on your home and unsure what to do? Magnum Law Group will help you understand your options. Are you facing foreclosure and need to stop a trustee sale? Magnum Law Group has success in doing this and may be able to help you too. If you're tired of dealing with the banks getting turned down for loan modification, Magnum Law Group will take on the banks for you and lead you through the process for the best possible outcome. They lead the competition with superior knowledge and expertise.
This is Craig from Magnum. You can reach us at 425-605-6393 or at www.magnumlawgroup.com. See you at the next seminar.
Securities offered through First Heartland Capital Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services offered through First Heartland Consultants. First Heartland Consultants Inc. and Sunrise Financial Services are not affiliated companies.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 570 KBI. I've built a network of elite industry professionals, every week sharing their knowledge and expertise with my listeners. In studio right now, Janice Hammond, founder and owner of Sunrise Financial Services, an exciting resource in studio today. And she helps many of our listeners. You may be listening today and you've talked with Janice and her team over at Sunrise Financial. Grow and maintain your money is the key and important to win in the financial game. More money definitely makes it easier for your family. So, Janice, thank you for coming back in studio.
Sure. It's always my pleasure.
For the new listeners, let me give them a little bit about your bio here. After 12 years in the financial service industry, Janice opened her company, Sunrise Financial Services, to help her clients avoid common mistakes made when planning for retirement. With her eyes wide open towards the future, Janice recognized the need for a more conservative approach to investing that strives to outpace inflation and caters to the unique needs of each individual who walks through her door of her firm, Sunrise Financial. So, Janice, excited to talk to you today and share with my listeners financial New Year's resolutions for 2014. So thanks again for coming in.
Sure.
So since the new year is upon us, it's only fit that we talk about New Year's resolutions. About 50% of Americans make them. And that was actually a surprising statistic that, only half. It seems like a lot more people do. But a lot of people are thinking about it. And the most common things, we all want to get fit. And I have to say that's one of mine this year. Lose weight. There's people that want to quit smoking. And I know that there's people out there that are thinking about their finances, but actually making that at least that first step to start during the process. I think there's a lot more people that need to have that in their financial life. Right, Janice?
Yeah, I think that financial resolutions are important, and maybe I'm a bit biased, but I think that creating maybe one for each sector of your life is important. And you mentioned that about 50% of Americans make New Year's resolutions. And according to a survey done by the University of Scranton, only about 8% keep them.
Oh my gosh, that is so low. And it tells me that it's important to be motivated and to set goals that are realistic that you can actually maintain.
I always say that you can't set a goal that is not sustainable.
So let's jump right into it, Janice. Let's talk about the first one. What is your advice for my listeners for 2014?
So definitely start saving for retirement, whether you're 5 or 50. Now is always the best time to start. So if your employer has a plan you can contribute to, such as a 401k or a VIP or TSP or 403b, whatever your company plan is titled, that's a good way to get started. I always say if we keep the money out of your hot little hands, it'll go directly in there. Sometimes if it lands in your bank account, it's not going to be there for long. So that's especially if they have a matching program. But if you have an advisor, I would ask them what their advice is on that, about how much you should put in, and but for you specifically. But I think that that's a good place to start.
So, Janice, what is the maximum someone can contribute to their retirement accounts each year?
Well, for their company plan, it varies, and you'd have to talk with your HR about that. But it is generally higher than you can contribute to, say, an IRA, which stands for Individual Retirement Account. And if you have earned income, you should be able to contribute. If you're under 50, you have about $5,500 that you can contribute, and if you're over 50, then you can contribute up to $6,500. And there are eligibility requirements for those too.
So, Janice, I have a listener right now that's listening to the show and doesn't have an employer plan. What would be your advice as far as saving?
If you don't have an employer plan available, then you can, I think that it's very important to always start with your own savings account. And because if you have money in your savings account, not your checking, in an actual savings account, you're much less likely to get credit card debt and that kind of thing because you've got that there for emergencies. So I think that's a solid place to start. If you can start there and say you can get up to $5,000, then it's time to maybe talk to somebody about where to invest that and get it working for you.
So in a general rule, is there a minimum required just to be able to start for investing, Janice?
Well, some accounts have fees associated with them. And so you want to make sure that you at least have enough in your account to mitigate the cost for it. Not all do, but some of them do. So I would say that $5,000 is probably a good starting point before you to get that going, and then you can invest it. And our firm provides complimentary 30-minute consultations, so feel free to call our office if you're looking to get started, 206-420-8520.
So again, I said at the beginning of the show, Janice has worked with a lot of our listeners, and I highly recommend, whether you're just getting started and you haven't talked with a financial planner, or even if you already have one and you just want to get her expertise. Again, I only bring the best of the best in studio. These are experts in our local market, and that's why they're here talking with my listeners of the show. She is more than willing to sit down or have you sit down with a team member to kind of analyze where you're at currently and whether or not there's some adjustments you need to make to your current financial situation. So, Janice, let's go ahead and work on to the second resolution suggestion you have for my listeners.
So the second is it's working smarter, not harder. Don't waste
money.
Like
that.
Yeah. Don't waste money on interest and high late fees. Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to save, but you're paying your bills late, again, that's where that savings account comes in, so that you don't pay stupid fees for things that you have the money for. So keep that savings account there and utilize it for those things so that you don't get charged those silly things and pay interest. Mm-hmm. If you have that savings account there and you have a credit card bill that's larger than usual, you can always borrow from your savings instead of letting that interest rack up over the months.
And debt is a huge impactor, obviously in your arena when it comes to investing. The more money that you have then to invest is going to be the bigger impact that you're going to have on your retirement. And it kind of works the same, I would imagine, is when you're purchasing a home. For me, I tell clients it's really easy, depending on your down payment, what current interest rates are doing, obviously is going to be a factor. But a good amount to look at is $50 to $70 a month in debt is going to equal to $10,000 difference in buying potential.
Wow.
So when I look at, if you look online at properties and you see the difference between $10,000 in price, that's a huge difference in the property. And I would imagine
it could mean getting the house or not getting the house.
Exactly. And I imagine for you, if you ran the numbers in your analysis, how much they'd be less in retirement as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you future cast things and look at what it could be 10, 20 years down the road, it makes a huge difference. And, and those late fees could really cut into your savings. One thing I recommend for people is utilize auto pay. It can be your best friend. I mean, anytime you get a new bill, there are very, very few companies out there that will not allow you to set up an auto pay, and you could have it set up to your credit card or to your bank account to come out, and then you don't have to worry about it. And I always recommend that people become accountable for themselves at the end of the month and go through everything on your bills so you make sure that you don't have unauthorized charges on there.
Yeah, they're definitely helpful. It'd make sure that you're not going to miss out on those bills to have those reminders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or set reminders on your calendar on your phone if you don't like the auto pay route.
So on the phone, I still need to learn how to use those techniques on my phone. Maybe let Dave take care of it.
Yeah. Should go back to the BlackBerry.
Exactly. So what's the next on the list, Janice?
Update your trust, wills, and estate documents. And you should do this at least every 3 to 5 years, and especially if major life changes have taken place, births, deaths, divorces, marriages. I've heard some real horror stories about unexpected deaths and people that have 10-year-old wills and trusts, and you just don't want your family going through that after devastation of a death anyway. You want to make sure your money goes where it's supposed to.
And that is so true, because what a headache for your family. I shouldn't say heartache for your family if you don't have these things updated. Great advice.
Especially with all the blended families we have now, it's more important than ever. If you have specific wishes about where you want your assets to go, be sure to just update those regularly. And speak with an estate planning attorney if you have questions. And if you don't have one, we have a couple that we can recommend. You can call our office at 206-420-8520 and we can get you their information.
And that's why it's important to have these key people. And Janice, I appreciate so much. You have just you are an expert in your field, but you also surround yourself around other experts that are not in your arena that you can refer your clients to. So I so much appreciate you sharing that with our listeners.
Sure. And, even if you're young and have an uncomplicated estate, people need to know how to handle your assets when you pass. And so there are easy programs out there that can help you get started, such as Quicken Will Maker, or Susie Orman has a will and trust kit. But if you own multiple properties and you have a large amount of assets, you will probably want to talk to an estate planning attorney.
If you're listening right now, make sure that you get your list, update your estate documents every 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. So for the fourth financial New Year's resolution, I would say that my suggestion is to plan for protection. And there are many financial tools out there designed to maintain or grow your current assets. And, of course, the legacy that you want to leave behind for your family. And depending on what stage of life that you're in, that could include life insurance, disability insurance, or long-term care insurance, just to get started.
And I'm sure that's the back of everybody's mind, but never really at the top or the front of the list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And, that's why it's on my list, because everyone knows they should have it, but not many people actually go through the process of doing it. And, they really can help keep your ass. You've saved your whole life, and to have some, one thing just devastate you financially would just be a shame. So prepare ahead.
So what's a suitable amount of insurance, Janice?
Well, and I know I say this a lot, but it really depends on your unique situation, and having adequate amounts of life, disability, or long-term care insurance depends on a lot of different things. So you should really sit down with somebody and talk about what that is. Our firm handles life insurance and long-term care. We don't currently have disability insurance, but we can absolutely recommend somebody in your area that can.
And if you don't get this set up, a small financial disaster could be just steps away. So you want to make sure that you're prepared and ready to go. And again, not just for you, but it's about your family. Janice, thank you so much again for coming in studio. Encourage all of you listening, pick up the phone, give the show a call, 1-888-987-0570. Again, it's 1-888-987-0570. If you want to talk to Janice personally, she'd be more than happy to take your call. Thanks, Janice.
Thank you.
And coming up next in the Money Hour, filing annual income tax returns is a necessary chore. Not a lot of fun, but we got to do it. It's coming up here in April. Fortunately, I have some advice in studio today that can help you prepare for the coming tax season. Greg Nunn Principal and at Gregory S Nunn Company, right here on 570 KVI after this short break.
Are Are you tossing and turning and losing sleep because of anxiety with the IRS? Your tax problems can be solved, but you can't solve them alone. Gregory Nunn, a certified tax resolution specialist and certified public accountant, and his team are the rescue squad for troubled taxpayers. A client recently wrote, Greg's team is extremely organized and efficient, and they truly care about their clients. Greg has a wide range of tax understanding and was able to manage and mitigate an IRS audit with a settlement for pennies on the dollar. If you're looking for a well-rounded and honest accountant, Greg is your man.
Hi, this is Greg Nunn, CPA. If you are losing sleep due to tax problems, please call Gregory Tax Resolution at 425-284-1933. That's 425-284-1933.
All tax problems are unique, and the outcome of each case can be very different.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 570 KBI. I'm empowering our community, providing you with opportunities and solutions when it comes to your money. In studio right now, Greg Nunn Principal at Gregory S Nunn Company, my own personal CPA. What you need to know when it comes to your taxes, every year is a little bit different, and especially now with all these constant changes going on. What Greg says today may be different tomorrow, but we're going to wing it anyways. Lots of information and never enough time with you, Greg, but thank you so much for coming back in studio.
Thank you for having me again, Tina. Appreciate it.
Greg's been practicing for nearly 30 years, and he's also a certified tax resolution specialist, the only one in the greater Seattle Eastside area. His practice is located in Redmond, Washington, with the focus of the practice being tax return preparation, tax planning, and tax problem resolution. Greg was recently awarded top practitioner by the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers. So, Greg, let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm sure that you see a lot of people doing things wrong, and maybe like really, really wrong. How many people do you feel have tax problems?
It is estimated that actually 1 in 15 have a tax problem of some sort.
That is scary.
It is scary. But of that, it's about 1 in 60 that actually I could probably help. But okay. Still, 1 in 15 has some kind of tax problem. Mm-hmm. You know, failure to file or penalties or something that the IRS is nagging them about.
So if someone is listening now and has received, let's say they've received a notice from the IRS, what should they be doing?
Well, I recommend that you open the letter.
Don't push it aside.
Don't push it aside. A colleague of mine had a client that actually hid them in his underwear drawer because he just didn't want to face the music.
Wow.
So
and we know people do that. I mean, how many times do you hear people, or how many times maybe we've done it where you've just put that speeding ticket in your glove box and thought maybe it'll just disappear?
It'll just disappear. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Many times when I meet with a new client, they actually have many unopened envelopes from the IRS. And it's understandable because it's frightening when you go out to that mailbox, open it up, and here's this nice little, I like to call them nastygram, from the Internal Revenue Service. Mm-hmm. And it kind of makes your palms sweat and you're a little uptight about it and you're not sure what to do. But really just open it and see what's going on. Sometimes it's something minor. And if it's not, if it's something a little more major or you don't understand the notice, you can always give me a call at 425-284-1933, and we can talk about that notice and see what's going on.
Yeah, and a lot of times, when you have something you don't understand, that in itself can make it really stressful. And then the fact that it's the IRS, that just adds a little bit of stress. But I would imagine a lot of situations, like you said, it may not be as bad. And even if it is, it's going to be a whole heck of a lot worse if you're not getting some counsel on exactly what to do, because timing is of the essence when it comes to tax issues. And in some situations, they won't be issues if you can resolve them.
That is correct. And keep in mind that the IRS is relentless. Once you start getting letters and you don't respond to them, believe me, they'll keep coming.
Yeah. But they'll work with you if you do respond to them.
They do. The worst thing that you can do is ignore the IRS. If you're in contact with them, and explaining to them what's going on, it's a much easier process.
So if I were to ask you what is the biggest mistake that people make, would that be it, or what else is there?
The biggest problem actually is people not filing. There might be a situation where you filed for a number of years and then you hit, a little bit of a financial challenge and you can't pay your tax, and so you don't file. And then the next year comes and, well, it's still kind of there and I know I need to file. And then you kind of get in the habit of it, or embarrassed, frankly, that you haven't filed for a number of years. And it's estimated that there's over 7 million non-filers, about 5% non-filers. Wow. And this is actually a big area that I work in with my clients, are those that have been non-filers. And we get them up to date and get them happy with the IRS and try to keep them in compliance in the future.
Okay, so we've got someone listening right now, Greg, let's say that is one of those people and they haven't filed and they owe money to the IRS. What are some ways you're going to structure and put that together to help? Yeah,
that's a very, very good question, because when the worst thing actually you can do is not file. If you owe money and you're unable to pay, file the tax return anyway, because penalties and interest can just become staggering in addition to the amount of tax that you owe. And there are solutions. Every tax problem has a solution. And some of those are that you might end up making an installment agreement with the IRS. You pay them off over time. It's very expensive, but if that's the only way you can do it, that's what we do. Often there's an offer and compromise opportunity whereby the IRS will actually look at your income and expenses and see what you can afford. And with that, you may end up being in a position where you pay less than what you think you might actually owe.
Wow.
Pennies on the dollar is what you hear on those ads, but parenthetically, be careful of those ads you hear on TV regarding those guys.
So it might fall into something sound too good to be true.
That's right.
And so let's say a married couple, and Dave, if you're listening, I'm not talking about us, but there's a married couple and the spouse, it's their issue, it's their tax problem. Is there something the other spouse can do to kind of stay out of that?
There is, and the challenge is with a divorce or sometimes in a tax problem situation. One spouse is out left to dry. They don't know what's going on. They haven't been informed of what's going on. And it might be that their spouse has actually signed the tax return for them and they've never even seen the return.
Wow, that's bad.
That's very bad. So in that situation, that spouse, there's a lot of opportunity there for them to be able to either split the income so it's separated between the two parties. There's also innocent spouse relief or injured spouse relief. It depends so much on the circumstances of what's going on. But ordinarily, if there's a spouse that's been in an abuse situation, didn't know what was going on, then there's often something very positive that can be done for that spouse.
So, Greg, I don't know why it is when it comes to money, there's so much procrastination, but it's Janice, our financial planner for the show, and you representing for our CPA, that it's just really common that the procrastination happens. And so what are some of let's talk to listeners that are maybe just putting that on the back burner and saying that they're going to get to it later. They're not opening that mail. What are the implications of that? What's going to happen?
At some point in time, if you have not filed tax returns, the IRS does this special little thing for you, and they file a tax return on your behalf that will be a very ugly result. They'll send a letter of assessment to you. That is, they'll send you a bill showing what tax you owe and the interest and the penalties, and then they'll just pursue you like a rabid dog in providing you more letters, more threatening letters, and it can get to the point where these kind of things ordinarily cause people to start losing sleep. Seriously, you go to bed at night and you're thinking about these tax problems and you're going, oh man, I know I need to do something, but I'm not. just make the resolution when you wake up in the morning that you're going to take care of it that day, and just contact someone.
I would imagine the losing of sleep is really that's happening during that whole process that that it's there and you're not taking care of it. And worst case scenario, I don't want to say that this would be a bad situation to be in, but get the information. If you can't be helped, if you can't fix this issue, there's options. You've got bankruptcy and things that you can other alternative things to look into. You just need to get to the end.
Yes.
And you want to get to the end and find out what that end is instead of continuing to lose sleep.
You do.
Because it's going to disrupt everything else in your life as well.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about IRS levy. What is it?
Well, this is...
what can you do?
The situation, again, let's get back to this non-filer where the IRS decided, well, we have information about you, so we filed a tax return on your behalf. You're ignoring us. You're not paying us. You're not calling us. You're not having your representative, such as myself, contacting them. Well, they can do what's called a levy, and that means basically taking something of yours.
Okay.
Most often, it's a levy of monies in your bank account. It could be a levy on retirement payments. It could be a levy on your Social Security benefits. It could be as well as a levy on your wages where you work. So they will look at all of these opportunities that they have to collect this money from you, and there are steps they need to take to properly inform you that they're going to be doing this. And so that's another reason why you need to open the letters, because it could be one of those really ugly ones where you're getting a notice that they intend to levy.
And what about IRS liens?
An IRS lien is like just a basic encumbrance, and what that means is that any asset you own, particularly for most of us, our primary one would be our house, that with that IRS lien sitting there on our house, if we were to go and sell it, any of the proceeds that are available to pay the IRS, well, they're going to take that money. So if you're in a situation where you do have a levy and you're considering the selling of your home, I really would encourage you to give me a call again at 425-284-1933 so we can talk about ways of getting that levy released, and so it's not encumbering your property.
So, Greg, again, doing mine and Dave's personal taxes, you know how organized Dave is. He takes care of all of our finances. I got too much run in my mortgage business and my radio show, but he and so I don't worry about being audited in that aspect, but I do. I mean, that's a big thing, whether you're organized or not, to have to go through that process. And it's always in the back of my mind. Gosh, what if we got audited? What a drag that would be.
I tell you, these audits can really be emotionally draining because we get that notice of audit, and again, it's the palm sweating, the wringing of the hands, and it can be very nerve-wracking. I'm working actually. I have a revenue agent sitting in my office right now that's doing an audit on one of my clients, and the best thing to do is to document everything that you do for your taxes and have supporting documentation for it. And I highly encourage you to definitely work with a professional that knows how these things work and can get all the paperwork properly prepared. So when that audit does occur, the auditor is getting really clean, nice information, and they just kind of ooh and ah about it because it's all organized and pulled together.
It makes sense. Anything else, the better package you can put together, and the better presentation is ultimately going to have a better result.
I mean, think about when you've gone to a presentation of any sort. You can tell if the speaker is well prepared or poorly prepared, and which one kind of gets you excited a little bit more.
Sure.
That's the same psychology with an audit.
Yep. So anything new that's going on right now, Greg, that you want to share with my listeners, some changes that are happening for 2014 or that are no longer available, anything you want to share? You're over there chuckling. When you laugh, I'm not sure if it's a good laugh or a bad laugh.
Yeah, one of the things with financial planning that Janice, I'm sure, runs into all the time is, what the heck is happening with our tax code? What's happening with taxes? And because they are the major component of one's financial situation. And so the tax laws are just in constant flux, and it's unfortunate, in my opinion, that our politicians just Mickey Mouse around all the time with the federal tax code. a couple of things that might affect some of your listeners, Tina, are one, there's the private mortgage insurance, the PMI that some people have, and it's been deductible until it ends in 2013. That is, for 2014, that will no longer be a deduction.
Now, could they bring it back? Because was it 2012 it canceled and then come back in 2013 and they said retroactive? Yeah,
they do this retroactive stuff.
That's the word I was trying to say.
It's insane. It's just, don't get me going too far here. I don't want to get on my soapbox. But another one is, again, with the residential, a lot of people have had challenges because they're upside down in their home.
Yep.
So they do a short sale or there's a mortgage foreclosure.
Yeah, this is a huge one.
And if you have any kind of debt relief, say you owe $300,000 and the bank is only able to get $150,000 for your house, well, you now have had debt forgiveness of $150,000.
Yep.
Ordinarily, that is subject to income tax. However, for 2012 and 13, they had a little relief provision whereby that would not be considered taxable income, but that now has expired for 2014.
Yep.
So there is another potential gotcha.
Yeah, and you got to be cautious on any debt forgive. I mean, there's modifications that are going on like crazy. There's a lot of things. Anytime that there's an agreement that you're going to pay less than what you actually owe, you got to pick up the phone. So give my show a call, 1-888-987-0570. Again, it's 1-888-987-0570 if you have any tax questions. Greg is your guy. Pick up the phone, call him, and he'll get you the information that you need. Coming up next on the Money Hour, in today's crazy real estate market, it's critical to work with a skilled negotiator. Now's the time to pick the best of the best to represent you. And how do you find him? Well, I got Scott Monroe with Windermere Real Estate. Wall Street office in Seattle is right here in studio after this short break on 570 KVI.
Do you want an experienced real estate agent that really cares about you and has the experience and background to look out for you? Scott Monroe with Windermere Real Estate is your guy. Scott's background in construction and his top producing numbers ensure that you will be in exceptional hands. Scott has worked with Windermere Real Estate since 1992. His low-pressure approach and unfiltered honesty have helped hundreds of buyers and sellers achieve their goals throughout the Seattle area. Check out what others say about him at his website, scottdmonroe.com. Scott would love to have coffee with you and see if he's a good fit for you.
This is Scott Monroe with Windermere Real Estate. Call me at 206-406-9388. Again, that number is 206-406-9388. I'll look forward to talking with you.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 570 KVI. My goal is to keep you up to date on the latest news and trends in our local economy. Keep me tuned in, and I will definitely keep you informed. Now in studio, first time in studio, Scott Monroe with Windermere Real Estate, Wall Street office in Seattle, here to discuss real estate and the importance of knowing your market and your property when writing and reviewing an offer. Scott, thank you so much for coming in to share your wealth of knowledge and information with my listeners.
Thanks for having me.
Finally, because you're a busy guy, it's hard to get you in studio.
Well, not so busy in December, but the rest of the year it's been crazy.
Yeah. Scott started with Windermere Real Estate in 1992, and he is still with the same firm, which says a lot in the real estate industry because there's a lot of changing that happens in companies. So it's a huge benefit to have been with your company for that long. He's been consistently in the top 3 agents in the 4 Wall Street offices, which are large offices. So a lot of experience and a lot of transactions that Scott has done. Certified relocation specialist working with corporate transferees moving in and out of the area. Some of them being mentioned: Boeing, Microsoft, Amazon, Starbucks, T-Mobile, Google, and eBay. These are just a few of the companies that he's helped people come into our Seattle market. Prior to real estate, Scott grew up in a family of builders and joined the family's business building homes and schools all throughout the state of Alaska. Also spent time in Japan working with Japanese home builders and won an award for a model home in what city in Japan?
Sapporo, Japan.
Sapporo, Japan. So thank you again, Scott, for coming in.
You bet.
So what are some things that you see that maybe not all real estate agents are talking with their clients about?
Probably the biggest thing that I see is people, how they choose their agent. The last few years, I've probably gotten interviewed, especially even by buyers on listings. It's more common, but lately even buyers are interviewing agents more and more, and I always think it's the greatest idea in the world. I love competing. I love sitting down with people and having coffee and seeing if I'm a good fit. I always hope I am, but I mean, I think that that's a really good thing. And somebody that's done a fair amount of business, I can tell you that a lot of times agents get in the way of the deal, you know, where they, the listing agent or the other party sees the buyer through that agent. And if that agent is a jerk or they're not good at their job or whatever, the buyer can be completely dismissed by the lack of skill or experienced by that agent. So to me, it starts in the very beginning. You don't pick somebody just because they look nice and they're a nice person.
Yep. So would you say one of the most important questions that you want to ask is actually the experience, or how many properties that they're selling and they've represented, or what would be a key question in that list of questions that you would ask in that interview process?
I'm a believer in looking people in the eye and just seeing if I believe what I see. So I think that that's a good place to start. And there are a lot of agents that do not like discussing what they've done, or they feel like they have to embellish it because they're embarrassed by it, frankly. But there is a big difference between somebody that sold 3 homes last year and somebody that sold, you know, well over 30 or 40. You can't deny that experience. And also another thing that agents won't always tell you is if somebody hasn't made a sale, we're in a commission business. Those agents can be a little bit more desperate to slam somebody into a house than somebody that's, you know, had a consistent revenue business coming in.
And that's a huge point, Scott. And, you know, and especially in our local market here, there is so much competition going on. And you know, everybody is top of mind is your family and the roof over your head, and, you know, being able to get the gas in your car to take that next person out to see their home. And so you could see that it could be easy for somebody to put that in the front and go, you know, it's okay, not even really intentionally realizing that they're doing that. It's kind of a subconscious thing. But there's a lot of desperation that could be out in the market. And the 80-20 rule definitely applies as well in real estate, like everything else, that 20% of agents are selling 80% of the homes. So that means you have a high percentage of agents that are doing majority of the volume. And in your arena, you've got to have that experience and able to walk through the process and get your clients the best deal and for the best price.
That's right. And you're also going to maybe be spending months of your time with this person. And so you kind of want to enjoy the experience as much as possible, but you also want to believe that they're going to be steering you properly, you know, through the process. It's a lot like your business.
Yep. Yeah.
A story I heard recently was during the height of the market this past year, there was an agent lamenting to a few other agents that he'd written 14 offers, no exaggeration, for this buyer, and he's gotten rejected on every one. And the friend that told me the story said, do you think there's something wrong with that?
There's a reason why.
Yeah, you think there might be a reason why. And gosh, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
But that poor buyer, if they don't know that they're really potentially being misrepresented or just not being.
Well, one of two things is happening. The agent has no experience at all, or the agent doesn't have the guts to tell the clients what they need to do. And I think that happens a lot too, that when you're not doing a lot of volume, you're afraid. In this market, I tell my clients, you have to listen to the advice that you're receiving from the agent that you've hired, and what they're advising you to do. Hopefully, they're giving you the right advice, but you've got to listen to what they're telling you instead of trying to put together your own deal and how to structure that offer. Now, I know a lot with your clients, Scott, that there's a house that they really want, and when you're going through all of the numbers and what the house has to offer or not offer, in a lot of situations, you tell your client, I mean, this really is not a house that you should invest in. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. That old song, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And there is a time when you fight for a house, but This past year, especially, we got into what I call eBay moments where, what's another 1,000? What's another 10?
Mm-hmm.
And people, it was pretty normal to see, 5, 7. One deal I did, there were 14 offers on it. And everybody's doing pre-inspects, everybody's doing sewer scopes, everybody's doing all this stuff, and you start getting rummy and just thinking, well, it must be worth it. Everybody's pursuing it.
Yeah.
But there is a stopping point, and again, that's hopefully something I bring to the table when I just tell my folks, gosh, I just don't see it. I think you should step back and let's go look for a different house, because there is a point when you are overpaying. And again, it does take, you're exactly right about courage. It takes somebody to tell them the truth.
Exactly. So all of your experience you have, Scott, in relocation, can you share some of that in how that benefits and how you're able to help your buyers, your clients?
It's a fun process, especially they call them transferees when like somebody is bringing somebody to the area to take a job. So sometimes they often come actually to the city and they have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
All they know is it rains. That's the most common thing I hear. We hear it rains a lot. And they're surprised by the diversity that the city has to offer. And one of the things that's fun for me is when people come to the area and they have no idea where they want to live. We heard Queen Anne's nice. We hear Green Lake's nice. I hear that almost every time.
Yeah, wow.
And you're kind of taking what they're into, their hobbies, if they got a family, if they don't, what they're, I always say, what are you into when you're not at home? What do you like to do? You know, and just match up communities to them, give them some choices. And I guess what it's done for me is it's made the city a lot more compact, so I have a whole lot more places to show people that might fit their search parameters.
So, Scott, how do you look at a home from a construction point of view?
Fun question. That's probably the number one thing people love about me, whether it's listing or selling, is because I grew up building houses and actually taught and worked with Japanese builders. I'm, a little bit more than can build my own tool shed in the back. I've really done some intense projects. And so I call it forecasting. So when I'm walking through a house with a buyer, I'm looking at it like their inspector is going to look at it and trying to see any signs of trouble in River City, to where I can say, boy, this foundation is looking very scary, or, I can instantly see whether the plumbing or the electrical is updated, the roof shot, if the windows have been done, stuff that most people just flat out can't see. When I'm listing houses, what helps sellers is that I can pretty much almost with a certainty say, hey, we're going to get hit with this stuff on the inspection. So we can either hit it now or we can wait, but most likely you're going to hear about it. And sometimes those are big items and the seller may say, you know what, I can't afford that. Maybe
I'm going to stick around this home.
Yeah, maybe we should just wait a little longer. And then they made a great decision.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's great to be able to help through that process and really get them to that decision sooner rather than later. So I would love to hear what you have to say as far as what's happening right now in our local market, as well as some things that you might see coming in our near future for 2014 when it comes to real estate.
The vibe in the air is positive. The consensus that I've heard and that I probably subscribe to is that 2014 won't be quite as crazy as 2013
I agree.
was. And what I think people often mistake, appreciation like it's an incline. To me, it's stair steps. It jumps up hugely in a month or two, and then it'll flatten out for a time, and then it'll jump up again. And I think this year we're going to see single-digit appreciation versus double-digit last year.
Okay.
I think there's been a lot of sellers that have been waiting to sell that are still kind of just barely flush in their houses, because depending on your price point, we're getting close to where we were at the peak, if not there in some points.
Yep.
But to me, the big unknown is the buyers, and you probably could speak to this better than I can. I think first-time buyers drive the market, and rates have crept up a little bit. I still think they're fantastic, but like you alluded to earlier in the show, $70 a month makes a huge difference to people.
Yep.
And I feel that...
And every 0.25% interest rate is give or take, obviously, depending on the loan amount. I mean, you're around $30-$40 a month.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And
so it's 5,000 buying power, give or take.
That first timer lets people move up. The sky's the limit on that. And so I think it's always, I hate this time of year because you're wondering. The hottest time of the year is February through May. March is historically the #1 month of the year. And so in a way, we're always looking back to find out what happened.
Sure.
And of course, we're coming off, the holiday season where it's slower. But I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a little more chill. The inventory is severely down still, which is not good for the market. A lot of buyers are discouraged and getting tired of it, frankly. So I'm hoping some sellers pop out and decide to sell.
So it's gonna be hard out there if you want one because of the lack of inventory.
It is.
We're not going to see the crazy double digit in the appreciation. And I think, as you mentioned, with first time home buyers, especially with that's the market that is most affected by the interest rate. But I think a lot of that is more of lack of education, to where they just go, oh, the interest rates have gone up, it doesn't make sense anymore. When the reality of it, it's not as bad. 0.25% might be $5,000 in price, which is not devastating. So just looking and being educated and knowing maybe what your options are. So if you're interested in getting that education, if you're a first-time home buyer, if you're a move-up buyer, you're getting into your dream home, because there's huge opportunities in the high-end market as well. Pick up the phone, give my show a call, 1-888-987-0570, 1-888-987-0570, so I can connect you directly with Scott. And Scott, thank you so much for coming in. It was just a real pleasure to have you across the table here and sharing your information with my listeners.
Thanks for having me.
This is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, signing off for the day. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the show. Thanks for being a loyal listener, and I just appreciate the continued support of the show. Excited to talk with you next weekend, where we'll have more awesome guests sharing everything about money and protecting it. 570 KVI. Thanks.
Are you behind on your mortgage payments and unsure about the road ahead? Magnum Law Group helps families just like yours navigate through the foreclosure avoidance process. Are you underwater on your home and unsure what to do? Magnum Law Group will help you understand your options. Are you facing foreclosure and need to stop a trustee sale? Magnum Law Group has success in doing this and may be able to help you too. If you're tired of dealing with the banks and getting turned down for loan modification, Magnum Law Group will take on the banks for you and lead you through the process for the best possible outcome. They lead the competition with superior knowledge and expertise.
This is Craig from Magnum. You can reach us at 425-605-6393 or at www.magnumlawgroup.com. See you at the next seminar.
The preceding program was paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395, is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit AbsoluteLoans.com or call 888-90-HOME for cost information.